run-heavy team. So if they can stop Josh Jacobs, force Derek Carr to win the game, it could be something good for them.
It could be a heavy Josh Jacobs game, too. 47 degrees and rain for New York City.
Well, anyways, it's a horrible game again, so.
On the injury report here for the Raiders, LaMarcus Joyner and David Sharp were those that did not participate. That's a safety and a tackle, if you didn't know. For the Jets, did not participate in practice. Let's see here. CJ Mosley, but he's been out for a while. Darryl Roberts, the cornerback. Braxton Berrios was a full participant in practice. Let's see here. Really, no one of real import. Interesting story though that came out this week, and I know Andy will have a strong opinion on this. Le'Veon Bell says he will not be randomly tested for performance-enhancing drugs anymore this season. He has already been randomly tested 5 times. This seems to be something that's going to go to the next CBA. The maximum number of times you can be randomly tested in a season, Andy.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a little unfair that he's been tested 5 times.
I mean, last year we had to deal with this with Eric Reed because Reed was tested 6 or 7 times across the entire season last year when he was with the Panthers. So this random element is not as random as we think it is.
It's not random at all.
No, it's definitely not random. But at the same time, like, Le'Veon does have a history of smoking a lot of blunts, so maybe it's not the worst idea.
That is not performance-enhancing drugs, though.
That is really not a performance-enhancing.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's true. But either way, you're right, I guess. Just look at his season. He's obviously not using performance enhancers.
Monty wrote in, said a lot of Raiders are tweeting about Pro Bowl voting and winning 3 games in a row, and that their matchup with Kansas City just got flexed into the national TV game in Week 13.
Oh, my
Now
God.
they are heading to the East Coast to play against Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder, and a really good rush defense. Not good signs. I never had mono, and I don't know how long it takes for your spleen to recover, but I have a feeling that Darnold will look really good against this defense. Help me, Adam Gase. You're my only hope. I think the Jets cover the spread, have a legit chance to win, except their coach is so terrible, I think he will end up screwing the pooch, and my Raiders eke out a really close game, like Adam Gase will waste his timeouts challenging the spot of the ball, and the potential game-winning field goal will be a 10 yards longer than it would have been with a competent coach, something truly dumb like that. Raiders 20, Jets 17.
That is great. Was that Monty?
Yep.
Yes.
That was so eloquent, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Like, it would not surprise me if the Jets won, but ultimately I don't necessarily think they will. But they could. For sure the Jets would win.
Yeah. They could. Jamison Crowder has been the number 1 fantasy receiver the last 3 weeks, surprisingly.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
well, the problem is I don't think who's the Raiders slot corner?
I don't know.
Exactly. Who is the Raiders slot corner? That's a good question.
Maybe Jamison Crowder will have another big game. We'll see. Carolina Panthers are 5-5. New Orleans Saints are 8-2. Saints are 4th in the power rankings. Panthers are 16th. Saints are favored by 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of good things to talk about in this game. Christian McCaffrey leads the NFL with 1,576 scrimmage yards this season and will become the first player with at least 1,000 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards in his team's first 10 games of a season in NFL history. McCaffrey, who has 20 rushing touchdowns and 14 receiving touchdowns since entering the NFL in 2017, needs one more catching touchdown to join Chuck Foreman from 73 to 75 as the only players with at least 20 rushing and 15 receiving touchdowns through their first 3 seasons in NFL history. I only brought this up because I thought Neil was going to be able to join us today and not have the same technical problems that we've had in the past. Neil has been big on McCaffrey being the first 2,000-yard scrimmage back, 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving. He's only got 6 games left to get to that 1,000 mark, and he's only at 500 receiving yards. So,
not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen. No.
But he is a
if
freaking
Allen keeps
monster.
checking it down, yeah, it can happen.
You think he could get 500 yards in 6 games if he doesn't run the rock? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, he had 113 last week against the Falcons receiving. So, it's possible.
But the Falcons are horrible against pass-catching running backs. They have been that way for years.
Hey, look, all you got to do is put them in a slot, dump off out of the backfield. Look.
Oh, I'm all for it. I have him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, all I'm saying is Allen is just now starting to spread it out to the wide receivers. So he could still fall back into some old, early tendencies of, check downs and Greg Olsen.
On the New Orleans side, Michael Thomas leads the NFL with 94 receptions. He's on pace to break.
Also a beast and on my fantasy team.
He's on pace to break Marvin Harrison's record of 144 in a season. It is the most receptions by a player in his team's first 10 games of a season in NFL history. He also has 1,141 receiving yards so far this year.
1,000. Oh, my Lord.
I know. He's had 4 consecutive games with at least 8 catches and 100 receiving yards. Drew Brees, in his last 7 at home versus Carolina, has thrown for 2,349 yards. That's 335 per game, plus 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I will take the Saints at Dome, but I think it's going to be closer than 9.5 points. I'm going to take the Saints to win, but I will take the 9.5 being given to the Panthers.
Yeah, the spread is too big. Division games. Granted, the Falcons have blown out both of these teams in back-to-back weeks, holding each of them to 3 points. I still think those are outliers. Division games are usually closer. I mean, unless the Panthers come in and completely crap the bed, this game should not be more than 10 points.
We are all taking the Saints, by the way.
As far as Michael Thomas, real quick, I still don't understand how he catches all these passes when he's the only receiver that they throw to.
Yeah, I know. It really doesn't make any sense.
Another solid point that was brought up on Good Morning Football with that lovely Kay Adams there, Andy. Michael Thomas also doing this with a backup quarterback for a few games this season, too. When Marvin Harrison did it, it was Peyton Manning the entire season.
Yeah, but Peyton, wasn't Peyton like kind of bad in 2002 where whatever, this is Peyton Manning.
Pretty sure the Jets beat them 41-0 in the wild card game that year.
Yeah, the 2002 Colts, this was the team that the Chad Pennington Jets beat 41-0 on wild card weekend. That was hilarious, by the way. I remember that. But I think, listen, it probably wasn't Peyton's fault. This is the early 2000s Colts. I'm sure the defense was terrible. So I'm sure Peyton had to throw a lot, but he probably threw like maybe 17 or 18 picks or something. And all of it to Marvin. Marvin was a joy to watch. I think Marvin Harrison is a little better than Michael Thomas still, just because Michael Thomas just doesn't have that traditional downfield speed. And just Marvin was just, I don't know. That's just my opinion. They're both Hall of Famers. There's nothing much to say. We're splitting hairs.
Saints are banged up on the offensive line. Andrus Peat did not participate in practice. Ryan Ramczyk and Lawrence Wofford were limited for the Panthers. Ross Cockrell, the cornerback, did not participate in practice. Gerald McCoy, the D-tackle, did not participate in practice. Dennis Daly, Eric Reed, and Shaquille Thompson were all limited in practice. Looks like injury won't be that big a factor. We'll have to watch the New Orleans offensive line to see how those guys play. All right. You've been dying to talk about Russell Wilson, Andy, and we finally made it to the final 1:00 game on the slate. Seattle Seahawks 8-2 against James Philadelphia Eagles, who are now 5-5. The Seahawks,
we can skip
third
this game.
In the power.
Come on, Seahawks. Come on, baby.
First 4:00 game. Let's go.
Eagles are 12th in the power rankings. Eagles are somehow favored by 1.5 in this particular matchup.
No sense. Jesus.
Historically, the Seahawks don't travel well. However, Russell Wilson had 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing, no picks in only career game at Philadelphia. And in his past 9 starts on the road, has 19 touchdowns, only 1 pick for a 123.5 rating. Feel like before we crown Lamar with the MVP, let's not forget Mr. Russell Wilson. I am taking the Seahawks. James is taking the Seahawks. But Andy, you are taking the Eagles.
Andy, come on.
Yeah, the Eagles could have beaten the Patriots last week. They could have beaten the Patriots.
No, they couldn't.
And again, I love Russell Wilson. I just hate how Seattle's team is run and how plays are called. And they minimize Wilson. They don't maximize him. It's just really frustrating. And I still believe in Wentz at home enough where I just think the Eagles are going to win.
Is Alshon playing?
Yeah, let's get to that. Alshon Jeffrey and Jordan Howard. What's the report on them?
I'm desperately looking for that injury report and cannot find it here. Here it is. Then, they didn't change the order of the injury report despite the fact that they moved the game to 1:00. My God, the list of injuries for the Seahawks is humongous. The Eagles, we have Al Galore did not participate in practice. Lane Johnson did not participate in practice. Jonathan Ford, Jordan Howard, Alshon Jeffrey, and Jason Peters were limited in practice. Nigel Bradham was a full participant in practice, though. So
finally,
Bradham should be back.
That's good, but the four people I'm worried about most: Jeffrey, Howard, Johnson, Peters. If all four of them don't play, we will have zero chance of winning that game. And I do mean all four of them need to play to have a chance to win. If even one of them is missing, we're going to struggle.
For the Seahawks, Dwayne Brown, Jadeveon Clowney, Luke Wilson did not participate. Everyone else,
Clowney's going to play.
Everyone else either fully participated or were limited participants. I'm not going through the list of limited participants. I feel like this is some sort of Patriot shenanigans going on here with listing all these guys on the injury report.
Oh, so you admit shenanigans for the injury report. Finally.
I've always said that there were shenanigans with the injury report.
Everyone does shenanigans on the industry. Everyone does that.
I'm still trying to get Philadelphia's weather report. Oh, we have AM showers, 49 degrees AM showers. So I don't know if AM means that 1:00 is no more rain, but it's going to be raining in New York at 1:00.
Apologies as far as the injury report. If Howard doesn't go, expect Jay Ajayi to get the carries. Ajayi was re-signed, I think, the Thursday before the Patriots game. He suited up. He didn't play. He knows the playbook. We talked about this in the post game from Sunday. But with a week under his belt to get acclimated, he should get the bulk of the carries if Howard can't go, because Sanders, I love the kid. Sanders is scared to run between the tackles, and that's where the bulk of our running offense comes from, between the tackles, not on the outside.
All right.
Wonderful. It's 4:00 games.
Time for the 4:00 games, and we will kick things off. There's only two of them. We'll kick things off with the CBS game. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars 4-6, the Tennessee Titans 5-5. Jaguars are 20th. The Titans are 17th. Titans are favored by 3. Let's see here. Oh, look at this. Jacksonville's pass rusher Josh Allen has 8 sacks through 10 games. Is on pace for 13. Let's see here. The Titans 20 years ago had Javon Curse, who established the NFL rookie record with 14.5 sacks in 1999. So Allen, along with San Francisco's Nick Bosa, who has 7, and Oakland's defensive end Max Crosby, who has 6.5, have a chance to hit that 14.5 record. 76 sacks by NFL rookies this year are tied with 2018 for the second most through 11 weeks in NFL history, trailing only the 1987 season. It does seem like young quarterbacks and young pass rushers making their mark early in the NFL.
Yeah, young pass rushers tend to get by on speed mostly and develop power moves later. So while tackles are still trying to get used to what they like to do, it's mostly a speed game for them.
Titans won 4 of their last 5 versus the Jaguars, but Jacksonville won earlier in September